Hi, I'm Desiree Hadley.
And I'm Andrea Mason with Newark People's Assembly, filling in for Mark Diano, and I'll be sharing some questions directly from the community.
And welcome to Hold the Line with Mayor Ras J. Baraka. Now, many of you may know Andrea from the Teletown Halls. She's often a moderator. So welcome, Andrea.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. So, hi, Mayor. How are you?
How you doing?
Good. So today we're going to touch on the 10-day shutdown, which is huge news around the city. And we're also going to briefly talk about the Thanksgiving precautions we should take during Thanksgiving.
Yep.
All right. So we are entering a 10-day shutdown starting today, November 25th. And where all non-essential businesses will remain closed and non-essential employees and residents are urged to stay home.
Right.
So Newark's positivity rate, we know, has risen to 21% as far as COVID is concerned.
Yeah.
So right now as a city, where are we facing this pandemic?
Well, right now we are, as you stated, our positivity rate is about 21%. Some parts of the city are a lot higher than that. The state is at 10%, so we're twice as bad as the state of New Jersey. And you know, this whole thing that because we're testing more, it's just this is stuff was created by Donald Trump and that kind of messaging that came out in the beginning. Obviously, the whole city of Newark tests more than specific wards. So if the test positivity rate for the whole city is smaller than some wards, then there's some difficulty going on in particular parts of the city. And so we just have to pay attention to that.
All right, Andrea, you want to add to that?
Sure. Well, just a question, a little different than that. But Mayor, how do you determine who's an essential or non-essential employee?
That's good. I mean, essential employees are usually people who have to do work that must take place regardless of what's going on, whether people have to collect the garbage. People have to, police and fire, medical workers and doctors, and those folks have to work because the supermarkets are open, because people have to have access to food. The people have to work in the supermarkets become essential employees. People who do transportation, bus drivers, taxi drivers, all those folks are essential. And because we live in a community that we live in, laundromats become essential, and they might not be essential in other people's neighborhoods, but they're essential in Newark because many people don't own a washer and dryer in their home, and so it's important for people to be able to wash their clothes or have access to that. So those kinds of things become essential work.
Right. So you touched on the essential employees. Can you briefly just explain or clarify for those watching what is considered an essential business for the business owners, the small business owners out there?
Well, essential businesses were established by the governor's executive order.
Right.
Essential businesses are places that serve food, people that give gas, just what I just pointed out, pharmacies that have to give people medicine, especially for the elderly and people who are vulnerable and sick. Places like that. The laundromat becomes an essential business as well. So all of those things that people absolutely need are essential businesses. Post office is essential. All of those things like that are essential.
Right. Andrea, would you like to?
Sure. So quite a few people, actually, I think majority of our city is probably in support of the shutdown. How do we report people or businesses that are non-compliant?
Well, I think that you should probably call 973-733-6000, the non-emergency number you should call. Many of our residents have just been coming directly to my email or DM me on social media, and one of us or myself pick it up, and we report it that way. But 6,000 is a good way, a non-emergency police number, or get in touch with code enforcement.
Thank you.
So during the first half of the year, when the pandemic was first introduced, a lot of small businesses shut down, or a lot of them went out of business. So how are they expected to survive during this 10-day shutdown and with this second wave of the pandemic? What is your message to these small businesses who may be suffering financially?
Well, luckily, the first 4 or 5 months that we went through this, a lot of people didn't in Newark stop functioning or move away. Many of these businesses, by the grace of God, withstood that first punch.
Right.
And I think that the 10 days is a lot less than 4 months. And this is the last piece of it. And so I think, we just have to get through this last piece of it. It's best to shut down now and deal with the little bit that we have to deal with. Then the cases keep going through the roof and then forcing the governor or somebody else to shut us down longer. You know, because even with the vaccine coming in December or so, the general public won't be able to get that vaccine to sometime in 2021,
Right.
probably early spring, and you still have to convince people that it's something that they want to do.
Right.
So that is not an automatic kind of thing that's going to stop the numbers from going down, because people A, may not take it, and B, we have at least until March, April before the general population starts getting it.
Okay. And I have one more question related to work. With like a lot of people, well, during the first half of the year, the job market was already difficult for a lot of people. So with this pandemic, people had to stop. Some folks lost their job. Some folks had to stop working. And with us going into 2021, we might still see the effects of this pandemic. How do you expect, what is your message for people out there who are going through that difficult time right now, who cannot find work and who probably won't find work till the end of next year?
Well, one, I think they should probably get in touch with us, you know, and see if we can help. There's still people hiring. We're still doing positive recruitments. There's still jobs that are looking for folks. It might not be what you were used to or what you expect, but there's still people hiring at this point. We have to, you know, pray that's why it was important for Biden to get in office, that we have another stimulus package that goes out to families to sustain them through this period of time, to give them the money that they need, the unemployment that they need, that they have to become fully engaged in state and federal government and local politics to be able to, you know, push for the things that's necessary during this time. And it's difficult for everybody. It's incredibly, whether it's emotional or psychologically difficult for you, or you're losing people in your family, or you're stressed about your job or your rent. A lot of people are going through it. This whole idea that only a few people are suffering is just not true, right? I would say the majority of us have been impacted by this in ways that we did not expect. And so this isn't going to go away just because we're angry, just because we upset. It's not going to go away just because you point the finger at this person or at that person. This is a disease, a virus. This is a public health crisis that nobody created. And the president can blame it on China, he can blame it on Korea, he can blame it wherever he wants. The reality is it's here and it's killing people and it's infecting us. And so we have to do what's necessary in order to survive and then try to rebuild afterwards, right? We read about plagues and pestilence in stories and books and in the Bible and places like that, but we've never lived through one. We never lived through one. And people don't know how they're going to respond or act in the middle of this crisis, in this most painful thing. And these crises don't build character. It exposes character. And so at this moment, it'll tell you who you really are, you know, in this period, in this time.
So, Mayor, I'm going to take a step back as it relates to the essential businesses. So I've been engaging in quite a few conversations with residents about the supermarkets. And there, you know, there's a certain level of fear going into the supermarkets, whether it's because of the lack of social distancing or the enforcement of wearing the mask. But more important, for the shutdown, they were hoping, or they're saying, that the supermarket should be open only for delivery or pickup service, because in their thinking, it's a large way of contamination and for the spread of COVID, because people aren't enforcing the mask wearing.
I agree with that there is no enforcement. We talked to, for example, Neil from ShopRite. We talked to these people. Even in the beginning, you know, we told them to, you know, you have to. Some of the places were doing it in the beginning. You know, I used to always shout out the Rite Aid down the street or the Walgreens down the street on Broad Street. They used to do a phenomenal job keeping people coming in and out in intervals. You know, ShopRite has had a tough time trying to do that, and I that's a good point. Maybe we should think about allowing just pickup and delivery to do that. But even if they did that, I think that they have to organize that, because the logistics of that would be like pretty difficult, having all of those people in the parking lot waiting to pick up their stuff. You know, so they would have to figure that out. But in the meantime, they do need to make sure people are wearing masks, that they're social distancing, that they let a certain amount of people in at a time. That's what needs to happen. And that's what we expect of them. And we're going to go and inspect it and make sure.
And the public school students are still remote learning because of the pandemic. How do you expect working parents who probably don't have the time to devote to helping their kids along, right, with virtual learning, how do you expect them to be optimistic about their kids' I guess, future or progress, I'll say progress, during this time when they're so much more easily distracted learning from home?
They are easily distracted, and now we have some sites available for people who are essential, but it's really incumbent upon the educator. So I don't think the virtual space is preventing kids from learning. Right. I actually think virtual learning enhances people's ability to have access to information, opportunity, things that they couldn't get in the classroom. Right. You have a greater opportunity. The problem is we have not been versed in it or taught how to deal with it here in our educational atmosphere here in the city of Newark, because access to technology, access to computers, in other people's communities, though there's a drop-off, because there will be a drop-off because people aren't used to doing it, at least some kids have been used to virtual opportunities, learning from other places, college learning and classes on a computer, science classes. And those are the things that we should be doing, right? And I would say that even after this, the virtual experience should continue in the classroom, and teachers should have, and educators should really figure out how to incorporate everything that they need to incorporate using the social media space, because I actually think the social media space is good in terms of giving them access to a lot of information. But the learning curve is the drop-off. Right. And that's what's happening now, because kids don't pay attention in the classroom if you're not as engaging as you should be. And so even if you're home, the classroom still has to be engaging through the social media outlet.
Right. All right, Mayor, we have about 2 minutes left. I want to close out with what do you encourage residents to do what precautions do you encourage residents to take during this Thanksgiving holiday we'll be celebrating tomorrow?
Well, I think that people should, tone down their Thanksgiving plans and probably have Thanksgiving with their immediate family, at least physically. Like, you can get on the phone, you can do Zoom, you can have all these people coming in to your household. And if you can't do that, if you are insistent that people have to come to your house, hopefully they're in your family, right, and that you talk to them about getting tested before they show up to your house, right? At least 2 or 3 days before, that they get tested before they come to your house, at least as a precaution for the safety of the people in your home and for their safety as well. I would do that and, try to enjoy it as much as you can. And if we get through this one time, there'll be other Thanksgivings. There'll be other opportunities. And you don't want to have a Thanksgiving with your grandmother and make it her last.
That's true.
Right? You don't want to do that. And you don't want to be responsible for that, because you listen to all of these people on social media and you got a herd mentality and you're following these people who have no scientific basis for any of the things that they're saying.
All right. All right, Mayor. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Andrea.
You're welcome. This was awesome.
Yeah.